Now let's start today's class. We are continuing from this topic from our last class. In our last class, we already discussed the different phases of compiler and their detailed explanation. All of you studied all the phases of compiler. Okay, so today's topic are symbol table and error handling. You remember the diagram of phases of compiler. In phases of compiler, all the phases of compiler are attached with the symbol table manager and the error handler. So today we are going to discuss symbol table and error handling mechanism. So first, the symbol table. Now the symbol table is an important, all of you see the slides clearly. Okay. So symbol table is an important data structure created and maintained is an important data structure created and maintained by compiler in order to store information about the occurrence of various entities such as variable name, function name, objects, classes, interfaces, etc. Basically, it is a table in which we store all these like variable name, function name, classes, objects, and their interfaces. We all store these in the symbol table. Symbol table is used both in the analysis and the synthesis part of the compiler. As we already see that all the phases of the compiler, whether it belongs to the analysis phase or the synthesis phase, they are attached to the symbol table. A symbol table is simply a table which can be either linear or hash table. A symbol table can be of any form, like a linear table or a hash table, which you already studied in your data structure and algorithm, the hash table and the linear type of tables. It maintains an entry for each name in the following format. So this is the format. This is the format. This is the format is symbol name, then type, and then the attribute. So this is the format for entering any name in the symbol table. For example, if a symbol table has to store information about the following variable declaration, like we have a sentence like static int interest. So it should be entered in the symbol table as uh, we need to store it in the curly braces like this, and then interest in the name of we place interest in the name of symbol name. We place interest, then the type. So here the type is of int. So we store the int and the attribute. So attribute is static type. So this is the format, and we need to follow it in placing any name in the symbol table like this. The attribute clause contains the entries related to the name. So this is the example by which we can enter a name entry in the symbol table according to this format. Right line. Now proceeding further. Now, what are the purposes of a symbol table? A symbol table will serve the following purposes. First, to store the name of all the entries in a structured form at one place. To verify if a variable has been declared. To implement type check-in by verifying assignments and expressions in the source code are semantically correct. To determine the scope of a name, like a scope resolution. So these are the main purposes of the symbol table. Now proceeding further. Now the role of symbol table. It is basically the essential data structure for compiler, used for storing information about identifiers appearing in a source program. The lexical analyzer and parser fill up the symbol table. So most of the entries in the symbol table are filled up in the lexical analyzer phase and the syntax analyzer phase, which is also known as the parser. The code generation and optimizer may use of symbol table. Basically, we store the entries in the lexical analyzer and the syntax analyzer phase, and we need to use that values stored in the table in the code generation and the code optimizer phase. So entries is stored in the symbol table are of various types. These are the types like variables, procedure, functions, uh, constants, label structures, and even the temporaries are also stored in the symbol table. So all the types of I mean the variable, procedure, and functions, all the types are stored in the symbol table. So symbol table basically is the essential data structure of compiler. Now proceeding further. Now these are the information which are stored in the symbol table. So first is name. It may be stored directly in the table, or the entry may point to another character string, possibly in an associated string table. We can store the name directly, or we can use it in the indirect way. We can store it. The second is type. What is the type? Like whether it is a variable, function, or procedure, or for variable identifier or float or array type. eh, what is the type? We need to specify it in the symbol table. Then at what location that identifier is placed. Uh, Now next is the scope. It identifies the region of the program in which the current symbol identified. Like the scope is whether the variable is of local variable, or whether it is of global scope. Then other attributes are also stored in the symbol table, like the array limits, record functions, parameters, return values of function, etc. These are the information which we will going to store in the symbol table. Now the information of the symbol table is collectively, incrementally, and used by the various phases of the compiler. So the information stored in the symbol table are incrementally collected in all the phases, and it will be used by the subsequent phases of the compiler. Like if we store the information in the lexical analysis phase, then that information will going to be used in the syntax analysis phase. Now the syntax analysis information placed in the symbol table are going to use in the semantic analysis phase, and so on. Now proceeding further. Now the next topic is usage of symbol table information. Now we can use the symbol table information in semantic analysis. In the case of checking correct semantic uses of language construct, it may need check-in types of identifiers. We can use this information in code generation phase, which is the last phase of the compiler. Like all program variables and temporaries need to be allocated the memory location. We can use this information in error detection. We can use this information in code optimization, like to reduce the total number of variables used in the program, which we already studied in our last class, the code optimization phase, by which we can reduce the the code generated in the intermediate phase of the compiler in order to reduce the memory space as well as the execution the as well as the execution time of the program. So wait for 2 minutes. I have an important call. Hello, 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 hello. Now proceeding further. All of you understand it? All of you understand the symbol table? Hello, 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 hello. हाँ सर. सर जो तो मैंने यूज नहीं किया वो मीटिंग यूज किया मैंने सिस्को पे बेस कर रहा था वो 40 मिनट ही चलता है. हाँ जूम भी 40 मिनट ही चलेगा. जी अरे मैं क्लास ले रहा था इसलिए वो. और आप प्लीज इस नंबर पे क्या करिए इसमें मुझे आवाज नहीं आती प्लीज इसको आप. जी जी ओके सर. Now proceeding further. Am I audible to all of you? Write yes or no in the chat box. Okay, okay. Now proceeding further. So these are some of the features of symbol table. Uh, in the symbol table, we can do the insert, delete, modify, or the lookup function, yeah, or the feature. Lookup means to search. Basically, you already studied these functions in the when you studied the data structure or DBMS subject. How to insert a record in the table, how to delete that record from the table, how to update or modify the record, and how to search that record which was already placed in the table. So these are some of the features which already satisfied by the symbol table. So these are the operations. Like when we need to insert a value, then enter a new symbol into the table. Then how when we look up, so look up for the symbol means to how we can search the symbol for the how the symbol whether it is exist in the symbol table or not. And in case of modified information about a symbol is stored earlier. So in the same way, we can also delete the record which was already present in the table. So all these informations which satisfy the table in the which you already studied in the DBMS are also satisfied by the symbol table. Now proceeding further. The symbol table design. So these are some of the designs by which we can make the symbol table. The format of symbol table entries, like the table can be of linear type. It stores the linear list, arrays, or trees. And the access mechanism, use the symbol table by using the linear search or by binary search or by using hashing method, which you already studied when you study the data structure and algorithm subject in the in the searching method, the linear, binary, and the hashing searching techniques. Now, location of storage. So, an important question arises where the symbol table actually exists, whether it is in the primary memory or it exists in the secondary memory. Basically, the symbol table works in the primary memory, but in case where the space or where the symbol table is much more bigger, then we can store it in the secondary memory in case of bigger symbol table. Now the scope, the simple symbol table with nested scope or the scoped symbol table with nested scopes. So these are not part of your syllabus. It is of advanced level, so need not to bother about it. Now proceeding further. Now symbol table formats. So these are the simple symbol table formats. Like the symbol table can be of linear table, or it is of ordered list table, or it is of tree type or the hash table. So any of the types the symbol table can be made based on the requirement of the data which we are going to store in it. Now proceeding further. Now the functions of the symbol table in different compiler phases. So this is very important because every compiler phase was attached to the symbol table, as we already studied in our previous class when we discussed the phases of the compiler. So, in case of lexical analysis, which we also wrote as the scanning. So wherever you find the lexical analysis, you can also find the word scanning. It means the same as the lexical analysis. So the symbol, in case of lexical analysis or scanning, the symbol table do the insertion of new identifiers. It do the insertion of new identifiers. In case of parsing, or you can say the syntax analysis phase, it access to the symbol table to ensure that an operand exists. Then the semantic analysis phase, the symbol table do these functions. Like, am I audible to you? Okay, so proceeding further. These are the functions which are done by the semantic analysis in in the symbol table, like determination of types of identifiers from declaration, or the type checking to ensure that the operand are used in the type valid contexts, like the type checking whether the the variable or the identifier is of int type or float type. So type checking is very much essential. It is done by the semantic analysis. Then it checks the scope and the visibility, whether the variable uh, whether the variable identifies the scope, whether it is local or the global variable. So these type of checking are done in the semantic analysis phase. Now the intermediate representation. In this case, the memory allocation and relative address calculation are done, uh, which which can be done by the three address code. Is that its short form is TAC, three address code, which we will going to study in the third unit. Now, in case of code optimization, all memory access through symbol table. And in case of code generation, which is the last phase of the compiler, the translation of relative address to absolute address. which is very important, the absolute address, because the absolute address is basically the machine code, which is the input to the assembler in terms of word length, word boundary, etc. So these are the functions of symbol table in different phases of the compiler. Right? All of you understand it? So this is all about symbol table and its management. We we will also study the symbol table and its management in the fourth unit in detail. So this is the just overview of the symbol table in context to the different phases of the compiler. Now proceeding further. Now error handling in compiler design. So the task of error handling process are first to detect each error, to report it to the user, make some recovery strategy after finding the error, and then implement them to handle error. So these are the four basic tasks which are done by the error handling process. First to detect it, then report it to the user, then make some error recovery strategy, and implement them to error handler so that uh, it it can correct it. So during this whole process, processing time of program should not be slow. So error handling do the fast processing. So an error is a blank entry in the symbol table. In the symbol table, if we find some cell blank, so it means there is some error in it. So we can identify error by the blank entry in the symbol table. Now proceeding further. Now the classification of errors. So basically there are two types of errors. First is compile time errors and the second is runtime errors. So in our syllabus we need to only study the compile time error because compiler only did do the compile time error. So there are some errors which we encountered in the different phases of the compiler, and based on their names, we named the errors also. Like the errors we find in the lexical analysis phase are known as the lexical phase error. In the same way, the errors we found in the syntax analysis phase are known as the syntax phase errors, and in the same way, in the semantic analysis phase, the error we found are known as the semantic errors. So basically, we are going to study the compile time errors in this subject and not the runtime errors. But we are going to briefly discuss the runtime errors as well. So proceeding further. So the types of errors. First is the compile time errors. So these errors rises at compile time before execution of the program. For example, the syntax error or the missing file reference are known as the compile time error, which arises at the compile time. And in the same way, the runtime errors, these errors takes place during the execution of the program and usually happens because of adverse system parameters or invalid input data. So these are some of the reasons by which the runtime errors occur because of the adverse system parameters or invalid input data. So, and the other reasons for runtime error are the lack of sufficient memory to run an application or a memory conflict with another program, and logical errors are the examples of runtime errors. So logical errors occur when this is very popular form of error, logical error. So logical errors occur when executed code does not produce the expected result. So in that case, we such type of errors are known as the logical error. So based on this, these are some of the differences of, like, compile time errors are of which type and the runtime errors are of which type. So basically logical errors are of runtime, which we encountered during the execution of the program. But compile time errors are encountered before the execution of the program. You already remembered when you execute your program in C or C double plus, at the time of compiling, you get the error. Such and such line of code have missing parentheses or something. So such type of errors are compile time errors. And in compiler design, we are going to discuss, or we are going to study the compile time errors. So proceeding further. So first is lexical phase errors. So these errors are detected during the lexical analysis phase. Typical lexical errors are exceeding length of identifier or numeric constant. It includes misspelling of identifier, keywords, or operators, appearance of illegal characters, and unmatched strings. So these are the examples of lexical errors. For example, like if we write printf in C programming, like printf hello, and we and after that the semicolon, and at the last we put the dollar sign. At the last we put the dollar sign. So this is a lexical error, since an illegal character dollar appears at the end of the statement. So the C language does not support it, because the C language statement ends with semicolon. So the dollar is the illegal character, and the error, this type of error is called as the lexical error. In the same way, the second example is, if there is a statement like this is a comment, and lastly it is terminated with this. So this is a lexical error, since end of comment is present but beginning is not present. So this type of error is lexical error, because it is of unmatched string. It is of type unmatched string. So such type of errors when we encountered in the compiler, so these are the examples of lexical type of errors. Right? All of you understand it? Okay, so proceeding further. Now syntax phase errors. So these errors are detected during the syntax analysis phase. So typical syntax errors are error in structure, missing operator, missing semicolon, misspelled keyword, unbalanced parenthesis. So these are the types of syntax errors. So for example, if we write switch ch, and there are some other statement as well in the switch case, so you can clearly see that the keyword switch is incorrectly written as switch. It means we have misspelled in typing. So hence unidentified keyword object identifier error occurs. So it is a form of misspelled keyword. It is a form of misspelled keyword. So this type of errors is is a type of syntax errors, syntax phase error. So other Examples of such errors are missing operators, missing semicolon. If a semicolon is missing in a statement, so the compiler returns as the syntax phase error. Or there is an unbalanced parenthesis, like if we start with the opening brace but does not end with the closing brace is not there, then such type of error is known as the syntax phase error. Then proceeding further, the semantic phase error. These errors are detected during the semantic analysis phase. So typical semantic errors are incompatible value assignment of operands, undeclared variable, not matching of actual arguments with formal ones. You already studied it in the case of parameter passing. What is actual arguments and the formal? What are actual arguments and formal arguments? And type mismatch between operators and operands. So these are the examples of semantic phase errors. For example, if we write int a 10 and b, so here you can see that both are of int type, but there are some limitation, but there are some variation is there. A contains 10 values but b contains only one value. So after some lines of coding, if we write in the last that a is equal to b, then it generates a semantic error because of the incompatible type of a and b, because here a stores the form of arrays, whereas b is the simple value. Although they both are int, but semantically they are not compatible. So the semantic error occurs here, right? All of you are getting it? Okay, so proceeding further. Now some after after encountering the error, we also have the error recovery mechanism. So there are four common error recovery strategies. There are four common error recoveries that can be implemented in the parser to deal with errors in the code. So first is panic mode recovery. This is the easiest way of error recovery. It prevents the parser from developing infinite loop. When a parser means the syntax analysis phase. So basically the panic mode recovery are more prominent in the syntax analysis phase. So when a parser encounters an error anywhere in the statement, it ignores the rest of the statement by processing input from erroneous input to delimiter such as semicolon. So in case of panic mode recovery, this type of operation forms. It ignores the rest of the statement when erroneous input of delimiter such as semicolon is not there. So it recovers. So panic mode recovery recovers the parser from developing in the infinite loop. So this is one form of error recovery strategy, and it is the easiest way of error recovery. Now the next form of error recoveries are, the second is phase level recovery. It performs local correction on the input to repair the error, but error correction is difficult in this strategy. So it will be used in local correction. Now the third type of error recovery is error productions. So some common errors are known to the compiler designer that may occur in the code. So these are the common errors which every compiler designer knows. In addition, the compiler designer can create augmented grammar to be used as productions that generate erroneous constructs when these errors are encountered. Like, for example, write 5x instead of 5 into x. So, if you write 5 into x, then more execution time will be there because it treats it as the multiplication. Into sign is for multiplication, so multiplication function has been working on, and the execution time will be more, so we can write it as 5x. Now the last error recovery method is global correction. So it aims to make as few changes as possible while converting an incorrect input string to a valid input string. So this strategy is costly to implement. So basically, uh, we are going to implement much more the easiest way, which is known as the panic mode, the panic level recovery, the first one. And these are the main the four error recovery strategies which are used by the compiler when encountering an error. So thank you. That's all for today. All of you understand it? In the next class, we are going to study the new topic known as bootstrapping and cross compiler. So up till today, we will up till today we covered the compiler, interpreter, their definition, their differences, and all the phases of compiler with their explanation. And in addition to that, we also cover the symbol table and the error handler, which is used by all the phases of the compiler. So in our next class, we will going to study the cross compiler and bootstrapping. Okay, thank you very much.